Hello, Christy here with Vermiculture Northwest, and we're going to take a few moments and finish up our do-it-yourself worm bin that we got started with. And we're going to cover a few of the basics about the air vents and what I use to cover those air vents. I did a little bit of, well, first of all, I searched around through what I had. The main thing that you need to realize is that when you're building your own worm bin, there's really no right or wrong way to do it. The main thing is that you want to think about the worms and the requirements that they have for their environment to be happy and healthy. And probably one of the biggest areas that I see people making errors, in my opinion, is in the air vents, because when you take a little 1/8 inch drill and you drill a whole bunch of little holes all over through a bin, to me that is not adequate, and it really doesn't allow enough airflow into the bedding to create a healthy environment for the worms. Now, I know there's a lot of people that do it that way, and you know, they seem to have success, but in my opinion, if you can drill a bigger hole and cover it with some nice mesh to keep the material in the bin but also let airflow in, then you're going to have a healthier environment for the worm. So the other thing is, I see people putting bins inside of bins and then not drilling any holes in that outer bin to allow air to get into the bins. And it's really important that that air be able to flow freely into the bedding. So anyway, I've looked around all over through my garage, and I just really couldn't come up with anything that I already had. And so I went shopping, and what I came up with is actually here's one right here. This, I do believe, is like a rain gutter guard, leaf guard, and basically what it is a piece of plastic that has a grid cut into it, and then it's got a lining of like window screen on the inside of it. And so what I did, and I bought a couple of them because I wasn't sure how much I was going to need, but what I did was I peeled off the window screen from the plastic. Okay, I peeled that away and cut a big chunk off, and then I took one of my little plastic circles that came out of the drill hole, and I used that as a template to cut my wire mesh. Okay, and so what I have here is a bunch of little circles that will fit perfectly inside of the holes that I cut in the worm bin. And what I've done then is I've laid that on the hole and run a bead of hot glue around that edge to hold that screening in the hole. Okay, now that's what I did for the sides. For the bottom, what I have learned through my years of worm bin composting and worm bin composting in the smaller homemade totes is that the bottom screening really needs to be more open than the side screening, because the bottom screening is where the excess moisture is going to come out, and it carries with it a lot of the particulate matter that the bedding consists of. And as that material comes through that screen, it starts clogging it up. And so the bigger the vent, the holes are for the vent in the bottom, the more moisture will be able to get out and the more air that will be able to get back up in there. Now, what I did was I took the plastic portion of this material and I cut it out, and I just used my tin snips, which worked quite well to do that, and I cut it into squares that would fit over the holes and allow as much air passage as possible. And so then I just ran a dollop of hot glue around the in the portions of the little vent here where I could see the bin through it, so that there was connection between the venting material and the bin that was connected with a dollop of hot glue. Okay, and so that's what I've done. And what I will do is I will take the camera down and I will shoot some closer shots of what I've just discussed so that you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. Alright, so here we have a view of the bottom of the bin, and these are my little air vents that I have cut to fit over the top of the hole, and it allows for maximum airflow. And I'm just going to take my hot glue gun and I'm just going to run a bead. I'm going to put a little dollop of glue in each, just around where the where I can see the worm bin through the vent, and allow that to dry. And that should stay in place just fine. Okay. Now I already did that here on this one, and it's, you know, it does a really good job. That hot glue adheres quite well, and it does a good job. So that's what I'm going to do with each of these vent holes here, and then I'm going to go ahead and take these off right now because I'll go back and do those in just a minute. We're not going to do all those on the video, but this end here I have already done. You can see the glue that I've run around the edge of the air vent, and likewise here on these three bottom vents here. That glue holds quite well. They're not going to get any kind of wear from the outside when you work the bin, and so those should last just fine. I did have a couple of questions that somebody did ask. So I thought I'd take the time to answer those questions right quick before we finished up. The particular name of this bin is made by Acro Mills, and this particular bin I purchased at my local Kmart. It was on sale after Christmas. It's an ornament keeper box, and I bought it after Christmas. That's why it's red and green. You can get them at Halloween time. They're orange and black. You know, they're really pretty easy to find. The other question was about the vents, the big metal vents that I put in the top. I sourced those from my local contractors store. It's like an Atlas building center. You know, it's just a vent. It's a 2-inch, any size vent that you have a bit for. Okay, hope you have a great time worm bin composting, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.